The following podcast is a B&E Network exclusive.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of 2 vs. 3 presents the GOATs, the ranking of Star Wars. We're going to go through every Star Wars movie in the year of their release date through the end, rank them 1 through 8, figure out what is the greatest of all time, the GOAT.
Wait, 8?
Oh, 7, sorry. 8. I don't know. I was excited for the new movie and it's not out yet.
Well, if you want to count the Clone Wars animated movie.
No, we're not
going to count that. 7.
Because
Forget what I
there's
said.
probably quite a bit. Wouldn't there be?
Maybe
I'm thinking the Ewok movies, and the fucking
The Christmas
Star Wars,
special.
the holiday special.
Yeah. None of that. Sorry. 7 movies going through the year of their release.
Yeah, I got all right.
And we're going to figure out what's the best and rank the rest. So I'm Kyle. This is Cody.
Hey,
And Greg.
Yo.
So I guess we'll get into it, right? I guess before we do, we should all say we're huge fans of Star Wars. So I don't know if this will be a huge argument through a lot of these, but maybe. I don't know.
Man, it doesn't always have to be an argument.
I don't know. That's not what our podcast is about. I mean, every other episode's an argument, right?
We could argue about a lot of things, but that's the one thing that's beautiful about this world is Star Wars just brings us together.
well, I guess
That's true.
we'll probably just start this list off by just sharing our admiration for Episode 4.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're right into it. So Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, released in 1977, directed by George Lucas, written by George Lucas.
Fucking Lucas.
Probably the only time he writes anyone that's any fucking good. So this is, I'll get right into it. This is my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Untouchably so. Right now, anyway. I mean, I've gone through stages in my life. Who knows, 10 years down the road, maybe I'll be like, it's episode 7.
Is this where we done? Because, yeah, it's probably one of my favorite movies. Not just of the Star Wars movies, but maybe of all time.
That's why I
Like,
wasn't
on the
sure.
Jungle Book scale, I think
Oh,
Star Wars New Hope gets easily,
It's a +1.
if not its top. Yeah, probably.
It's a Jungle Book +1. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Jungle Book's great, but it's not goddamn Star Wars.
No, but it's hard, though, right? Because immediately you want to rate these movies, but does nostalgia count? Can you just
100%, because these are not Oscar award-winning movies. You know.
No, yeah, nostalgia counts. We did this for Batman, and we rated a lot of old. In Batman, we put Batman Forever up pretty high on that list, and let's be honest, not a great film in film standards. Yeah,
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
yeah. So
Nostalgia is.
See, I love this one, but I'm not going to stick with it being my favorite.
this one's obviously going to get some argument further down. That's why I was
Yeah,
ready to start with
exactly.
this because we didn't know how we were
start
going
in
to
the
do
middle. Then we'll get halfway through, and then we'll go back to the middle, the beginning,
Oh.
and then we'll wrap up at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes the most sense, right? George would be proud. All right,
And for
so
anybody who wants afterwards, maybe you can maybe we'll come up with a special edit version of this where you can listen to this podcast, but in chronological order, not in the episode that they were released. It would make a lot less sense, but I'm sure.
I guess I don't want to move on without saying anything about this film, like this
Oh,
movie.
I-
We should talk. I think this movie, the most perfectly paced movie of all movies, especially Star Wars movies. Like you're introduced to like Vader and the war, like immediately. The crawl of text across the screen, like that's awesome. Like to introduce you into the story. You're
Well,
then
yeah.
on Tatooine, you seeing Luke look off to the two sons wondering what is my future and life. You get that a kid
Oh my God.
on the brink of adventure.
right from the get-go, Tatooine with its twin sons, fucking twin stars in the sky, Princess Leia and Luke. Twins.
Greg's deep in the metaphor already. I don't think that George Lucas fucking knew
twins.
that when he wrote that right away, but sure, maybe he did. But
They
anyway.
told us right there in the first opening shots.
What was great about starting the whole universe that way was leaving the mystery so open. Like, we just jump right in. Vader's ruling the galaxy. Princess Leia has this huge story of what she's been up to. She's on the run.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, just my imagination just took off. And now, obviously with the prequels and then all the TV shows, they're filling it in. and it's pretty cool. It's like Tolkien level universe building, you know.
I get what you're saying, but I feel like Tolkien level is like an insult to this movie. But that's just me. But I like that.
No, but
everything's lived in.
As one
right?
person back then, George Lucas, he developed that universe. Obviously, it wasn't as big as it is now.
No,
that
exactly.
took the help of a lot of people.
Yeah, and a lot probably in the grand scheme of things, better writers. But to come up with the grand scheme, he did a great job. And I mean, everything felt lived in. It felt dirty and used and old. Like it's
there was
a long
history
time
there,
ago
yeah.
in the galaxy. Like it felt futuristic but old and worn out in the same like awesome way. Like
Exhausted.
yeah, like a
Post-war.
a war
Yeah.
torn type
Yeah, or-
situation. Like Tatooine didn't seem fucking like any sort of future you'd really seen in a lot of science fiction. Granted, I guess like later on you get Alien and like other movies, and there were sci-fi movies before it that probably had a similar aesthetic,
but-
but nothing that quite grasped it as well as Star Wars.
Is there like another franchise that you can think of that's like, you know, like for example, yeah, Star Wars started and it wasn't called, you know, number 4. It was just Star
it was
Wars.
just Star Wars. Yeah.
StarArs, and then maybe later on adopted A New Hope as a title with number 4. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, they
people
added
know.
that in later.
Well, for right now, we don't know. But anyway, but do you think that there's so with that in mind, right? You start in the middle. I bet it was that was just the starting point. Forget that it's the middle. That's just where you start.
Yeah.
And then later on, you get the ending. Then we go back to the beginning, and like you're saying, with this universe that's dirty and used and you know exhausted. Can you think of another franchise where you're as interested in the prequels? You know what I mean? Like this story is we start in the middle, you can say, but really you can start
Or
that.
you want to find out how they get there.
You can start anywhere in that story arc. You know what I mean? Like this story is one that takes. I don't know. So far, we know it's going to take.
Yeah,
9.
I get what you're saying. I feel like because he started like in the middle, or we eventually adopt or whatever makes it the middle.
Well, like,
It does that thing like you're saying where you fill your head in with all the things that how did they get here? You know, you're as a kid, you're watching it like you want to know why is it like this. We find out later on you don't really want to know. It's probably a good call. Your imagination was better than the actual example.
No, what? You're wrong. You're fucking.
No,
damn it, man.
I like my
No.
own imagination of how everything got that was probably more of like an awesome novelty than actually seeing the prequels. But we'll get to the prequels
See,
and everything. So
I think that's like, you know what it is? It's just like I don't look a gift horse in the mouth. It's just like I see something I like, and it's just like I'm not gonna question this. You know, I'm not gonna tear it apart. You're just a brutal.
You're very offended by that.
I'm a little offended.
I'm-
No, but
I know you're just like
We're
you're just
gonna get
hating on Hayden
offended.
Christensen.
No, I agree with you though,
I'm not
Kyle.
just hating on him.
It was
It's not just
it's
him.
a weird way to just be introduced to a universe that we weren't sure if we were going to get that backstory that back then. No, I'm saying this. I wasn't even alive when it came out, but
Yeah, but when you're
Yeah.
first, you know, we started watching it before the prequels, or at least
I think
or introduced at the
I
same
was
time.
really getting into the whole series when like episode 1 was announced. So like I knew there was going to be something coming.
Yeah, I guess for context of the whole thing, we're all around the same age, but you know, there's like 3 or 4 years difference between all of us. I mean, I'd seen them all. I'd seen episode 4, 5, and 6 before I saw episode 1. But again, like it was probably built on the hype of episode 1 coming out. You know, that my parents showed it to me.
Yeah, that's. I think. Well, I agree. That's probably about the same.
I think I got like my indie trilogy and my Star Wars trilogy at the same time. So I was like hard on the Harrison.
That's fair. Yeah, I probably.
Yeah, man, that guy was a baller.
Yeah, he was
I
definitely my
mean, when I was a
childhood
kid, I totally wanted a little scar on my
hero.
chin.
All right. So do you want to get into the
No,
next
not-
movie?
Man, what?
Or do you wanna
Man,
talk
well,
about
we
Indiana
haven't even
Jones?
talked- No, but we haven't even talked about A New Hope. I mean, okay, it's your
Okay,
favorite
go
movie.
ahead.
Why? Jesus, fuck.
Well, no. All right. Like
We didn't even
I said,
touch it.
pacing's great. The intro for everything fantastic. Darth Vader, amazing villain as a kid.
All right, yeah,
absolutely
exactly.
haunting.
Like, not only the villain, but I mean, just being a kid, you know, thinking you know what like a superhero is. I have no idea, but I mean, watching this movie for me blew my mind. I mean, you guys are you mean Kyle and I were talking earlier about you know the presence that I have living in this apartment. Like, Cody was living here before I moved in, and not much has changed, but like Kyle was just like, oh well, there's Star Wars curtains and you got a Princess Leia cutout now. I mean, like those are clearly yours, and I mean, like it left a huge impression on me from when I was a kid. I mean, fucking laser swords. Han Solo was a thug. I mean, that's a guy you want to grow up to be like.
Was that when you were a kid though? Was Han Solo the one? Like,
No,
like
no.
as an adult, but
See,
you get
I'm
that. But as a
humble
kid,
and
I was
modest.
like, I like Luke.
See, yeah, no, see, agreed. Whereas just like Han is like what a guy I want to hang out with, but I could never be that cool. Like I'd be Luke.
I didn't realize he was cool until I realized what adulthood was kind of like. You know,
Well,
like he's like the runaway from.
he seems older, right?
Yeah, and but where you're a kid, you just want the power. You want the.
I never
wanna be
really
a
thought
Jedi.
Luke was cool.
I want the destiny.
Oh, Luke, I like him.
He's-
Even now, man, Luke is still one of the greatest heroes ever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a bit of a whiny bitch at times, and that
No.
where he's like, I'm gonna get some
got
power
a
converters.
lot of dumb luck.
The whiny
I think
bitch
you call it
thing,
the Force.
Well,
but-
that's the Force. So it is dumb luck.
the whiny bitch thing. That's just like a relatable character. I mean, not all heroes are gonna. Just
You're right. No,
shut their mouths and fucking. He's not like he has like a dingy bar you can go drink whiskey in and smoke cigarettes, right? Like this guy fucking shares his feelings with people around him.
if you found out when you were fucking like a teenager that you're like the chosen one, you'd be a whiny bitch too. No one's like awesome with responsibility when they're just like becoming who they're going to be the rest of their life. You know, like no, like you don't even want to get a fucking job,
Kyle,
let alone save the goddamn galaxy.
I agree with you 100% that I'd love to see Spider-Man and Luke like go on adventures.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, you just said that,
I just
man.
did that, yeah. Wow. I feel like maybe those were words put in my mouth, but I don't know.
If we listen to this again later, I'm sure you'll hear it.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So my favorite thing,
Uncle
looking
Ben.
back on episode 4, I guess, would be the introduction to the score. Like
Oh,
the music
fuck
right
yeah.
off the bat. You know, those themes are still in this new movie and are still fucking
Oh,
giving
yeah.
you
And,
chills every time
That's
you
something
hear it,
that we
you know?
don't really even come up with necessarily won't ever be debated through all these movies because John Williams has absolute perfection in every soundtrack.
Yeah, but what's really cool though is like back then not knowing what it was going to be.
Yeah, and he set a tone. that
Like
was-
everyone can hum along a Star Wars theme
Yeah.
walking down the street,
So-
you know.
everyone could stand on a hill with their leg up, staring at a sun and go.
So
apparently,
apparently, like to talk about like the opening impact of Star Wars. Star Wars isn't the first movie to start with the rolling credits. I feel like George Lucas even comments that he borrowed that from the Flash Gordon movie.
oh, is it? Yeah, rolling credits or the rolling
Oh, the
story?
rolling story at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then also, speaking of the credits, there's because of the effect of the rolling text and John Williams' amazing orchestra, that George Lucas has decided to put the credits at the end of the film, which is really a huge thing. For when
Yeah,
that
he was
movie
probably
came
one of the
out.
first people to just
And
do that.
my
like with the popular
understanding
one.
was that he got kicked out of, I don't know, the Directors Guild or fucking club.
So I don't think mainstream movies stopped putting the credits at the beginning until like near the early 2000s.
It's weird. You don't think about it. I mean, when we were kids,
Like
you
they
know,
randomly, like
Yeah.
Deadpool still had it, but like
Well, no, they
remember back in the
fake ones,
90s,
yeah.
like people would you'd have your opening soundtrack and like a little animated scene or something.
Yeah, it's always like kind of cold open, and then like the soundtrack hits or whatever, and it's the directed by like all that
Yeah.
kind of.
But no, the intro, just like sum it up real quick. That's all we needed to know right there.
Yeah,
George Lucas's name came up,
yeah.
Fox, and then it's like, fuck it. What more do you need to know?
All right.
We'll move on to Empire.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Well,
I guess.
Just let's.
What else you got to say about it?
Let's just wrap up. Like we start with the beginning. Like let's. I mean, we can't just. I mean, there's so much.
I know.
There's
I
also
get it.
7 movies though.
All right, all right.
And I feel
But
like we're
just-
gonna talk more about it. I hope as this comes up.
All right, but no,
Exactly.
but all right, the ending though. Like we'll start with the beginning. Like at the very least, we
Oh,
got to
yeah.
cover the beginning and end.
I do want to say, yeah, this movie, and the reason I think it's my favorite, beginning, middle, and end, perfectly summed up as a standalone movie.
Agreed.
Like, you can just watch this. You can introduce anyone to the Star Wars universe perfectly with this movie. It's not, even though there's been so much story filled in, it's all right there in the first one.
There could have not ever have been a sequel, and it was still
And it would still have been
great
great,
movie.
great movie.
Yeah.
And you would have always yearned for more. And it would be like that Firefly type thing now where you're just
Oh
like, what the
my.
fuck is the rest of this? But you could show it and be excited about it, and people would love it.
Did you not ask this question on our previous podcast about a series that you could forget that you've seen?
Yeah, I think that was a topic.
Well, a little spin on that would be to find one of the old cuts of Star Wars with where it just says Star Wars, not Star Wars Episode 4.
Oh,
New Hope,
yeah.
and lead. If you I promised Kyle that if there was time travel, that in the future when we're both old, I'd go back in time to when he was younger, and I would take him on crazy adventures. So I'm now asking if this forget me pill ever comes a thing, for you to re-show me just the original Star Wars,
unedited,
untouched. And where I'm led to believe that it's just a standalone film. And then you constantly sneak me and surprise me. Greg, you'll never guess.
They came out with more Star Wars.
Yeah, where you could maybe make me think that Star Wars is like an underground thing that only you and I know about.
That would be nice. But it would be weird because even when you were born, you'd know there's more.
Exactly.
Because you were born after a lot of these movies already
I
came
need
out.
the fucking pills, come
All right, now we're going to get into it. Episode 5.
I'm ready.
Empire Strikes Back. So this one, different director. Irvin Kershner. So we finally, finally, it was new then. You get a different taste, somebody else stepping in and doing something different, George Lucas. Written by Lawrence Kasdan and Lee Brackett. I don't know if it's Lee or Lee.
I don't think Lay is a name.
Yeah.
It didn't seem that much different than 4 directing-wise, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I really think that George Lucas did a pretty fantastic job in 4. So it's like it's only later when I think he gets ripped on for being a director.
Is that where that expression like one and done came from? Like George Lucas, he's just like one and done.
Yeah, I don't know why he was taking. I've never really looked into it. Why he wasn't directing this one? He just gets like a story by credit.
He was busy doing other things.
And like he was a writer, but he doesn't. I don't think he gets credited for it on this one. But most people, I think, like if you were to take a poll of the world of Star Wars fans, this one probably would get number 1.
Yeah,
because of
it was probably mine forever.
Boba Fett.
Yoda.
I think it's because of the ending. Like the
Yeah,
greatest twist.
Imagine not knowing that.
Yeah, like we kind of grew up maybe with that being a little spoiled for us, but
We
I
knew
think
that
at the
line
time,
before we knew the movie.
yeah, exactly. Like
You
that's
actually having to wait.
yeah,
for
you didn't know that was like probably the biggest reveal in movie history of like I'm your father. Like that. That's a huge.
I
deal.
heard that they filmed multiple takes of that where none of the cast knew what was going to be said, which is
And
easy.
what was the real ending?
It's easy what to do that, especially seeing like Edward. Fucking, I've been watching a lot of Battlestar. Edward.
Oh,
James
you're gonna say
Olmos.
Edward James Olmos?
Help me out here, Kyle.
What?
Darth Vader, help me.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl
Thank you.
Jones.
I was about to say
Fuck
Edward
this.
James Olmos. I was like, I've been watching Battlestar too.
But
That's all fucked up.
basically, it was easy, right? So they filmed a bunch of fake, like they had what they told the cast was the original, like how this was going to end. That Darth Vader was going to say, "I killed your father," right? And they filmed all those scenes, and then they were like, for fun, let's just do one where you say, because they filmed a bunch of like, let's do a bunch of silly ones. They did the whole "I'm your father," and they like filmed all that shit. And it was all
wacky
just for
sax
fun.
played.
Right? And then, yeah, I guess for the longest time, like, fuck, I want to say Edward James Olmos again. But James Earl Jones was like one of the first people to know that, Darth Vader was Luke's
Well, yeah, it
father.
would make sense for him to know because the script he would get,
He had to say the line.
yeah, he would just get the one line,
Right,
he's dubbed
whereas
over after.
Everybody else, like, it was a dark secret, like,
yeah.
next to...
You can tell Edward James Olmos and only one other sound guy would know.
Yeah,
You know?
like, from my understanding,
Edward
like, most of the cast...
Edward James Olmos, did I say it again? Fuck. Now you
like-
ruined it for me, Craig.
because they filmed so many like takes and joke scenes, right? Nobody, like most of the cast, didn't realize that that Darth Vader was gonna be Luke's father until the premiere screening. So, like, the world kind of found out at the same time.
That's pretty cool.
Like, which means that can you imagine now you get spoilers and like the actual spoilers would have been us walking out of the theater being like, "Oh my god, Darth Vader's Luke's dad."
Someone walking around the streets like, "Fuck you, man."
Yeah. Well, that kind of happened when we saw like episode 7.
Oh, we
you
walked out
walked
of the-
out of that going like, "Oh, he's dead." Someone going in. We saw that as early as possible.
Yeah.
Like literally the first possible screening that wasn't like a privileged screening. And we still walked out of that, like yelling spoilers probably at the top of our lungs.
Fuck the world.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, I believe in the light side up until like those first 2 minutes when I walk out of the theater, and then it's just like, fuck everyone else. It's all about me.
So this movie, fantastic.
Yeah,
Obviously,
starts off with the Battle of Hoth,
Battle of Hoth,
That's fucking
probably the best
epic.
fight scene in a movie.
tangling up
Now,
the
also-
walker's legs. That's iconic.
Yeah.
Man, the Battle of Hoth. It's like the first time we really get to see Luke as a baller with the lightsaber.
Yeah, starting to get.
He fucking takes down an
coming into that.
AT-AT pretty much by himself. He's
Yeah.
just like, give me a fucking magnet.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'll fucking do whatever I want.
And
Basically.
yeah,
And I mean, he probably in later on in life is just looking back. He's like, I didn't really need that magnet. I could have jumped.
yeah. Later he can jump. Even later in that movie he can jump.
Yeah,
high as
right.
fuck.
So he was just like, he didn't want the boys to feel bad.
But no, it's a really like I mean, there's so many cool things about this movie. So many weird things too, where they explain his whole Mark Hamill's fucked up face now with
Yeah,
the
he does look
yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Because now you get weird Luke. He's like pretty boy Luke in the first one. Now he's motorcycle accident Mark Hamill with the
Badass Luke. The guy's a fucking hardened soldier. He gets his face
Yeah, he
torn
does
off
get
by
his
a
face-
wampa.
yeah, that is cool. But at the time I was like, man, he's ugly from the rest of these movies.
I never really noticed. I mean, to be
I
honest.
definitely noticed in that one for sure.
Yeah, well, I noticed it more in the Return of the Jedi, but like because then
There's
he's
a
now
scene
he's
where he
aged
looks
and-
bad.
Oh,
His
yeah.
eyes are just black.
But I don't know, awesome beginning, amazing end.
Cloud City.
Like the depressing ending of it too, which like as you get older, kind of has more appeal. You know, like it's
Cloud
just that
City
sad.
gave me anxiety.
Yeah,
That
for sure.
see, you know what? A lot of people love that movie, but that movie gave me such anxiety. Like it was like the Temple of Doom of fucking Star Wars.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can see that.
You know, where you're just like, oh man, I'm uneased.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's
Well,
sad.
it
you know,
was-
nothing works out.
It's a different color than the others.
Dude, I was just
So Star
gonna
Wars
say-
1 is so you get the sands and it's nice and bright, but you also get the blackness of space, which is kind of throughout all of them. But Return is like you get the green forest and shit. It's kind of like a lively. But this one is just like machine and like gray. I guess you get a bit of swamps from Yoda, but that's
Yeah,
an
right. You
unattractive
get, like, a
area.
blue- a
Man,
nice
There's like
blue in
snakes
the
and
beginning,
shit.
But yeah.
Everybody says they want to fucking live in the clouds. Does Cloud City not look like the worst fucking place to live?
I don't know. I thought Cloud City looked all right.
Man, nightmares are made of Luke hanging off the bottom of that fucking tower. And, like
Oh,
I work
yeah.
on heights, and that doesn't bother me. But it's like that's fucking dumb.
See, it's weird. I have a fear of heights. I never really got that from that movie or from that scene, like any of the Cloud City.
No, because
stuff.
like, maybe that's because you know it's like I'm
'Cause
pretty
I
good up
don't-
on heights, but if I was there, I'm fucked. Like, there's nothing. You close your eyes and hope I have a twin sister that can fucking hear me.
See, the much more unsettling thing to me in general is like the Lost in Space kind of vibe, like Darth Vader spinning off by himself at the end of
You have-
New Hope. That would be
guy,
terrifying.
that boy has his shit under wrap. You know, he's floating off in space, and he's just like, "They'll find me. How do I know? I'm Darth Vader. They will find me."
I'll literally mentally contact the nearest
Yeah,
person.
he's fine. Like he's not concerned. Instead, you're just like, "Oh, thank God!" Like the rebels gave a fucking time off. Darth Vader's floating in space. He literally can't do anything.
No, I get that's I don't know. There's so many great things about this movie, but my knock against it is just because it's not. You couldn't watch this movie on its own. You know, it's it would be lost on you all the important parts of it. You know, like it just wouldn't. You wouldn't feel the impact. You know, like without.
Well, do you think you could do that with Return of the Jedi? Watch it on its own?
No, not that's. I mean, that's a problem for a lot of these, right? You wouldn't be able to watch them on its own, you know, because they're sequels, like obviously. But it's paced fantastically for a sequel, though. I'll give it that its credit. Like it changes the tone of the whole thing. It kind of sets what most sequels end up being, is that darker, like feel to it.
Yeah.
Everybody judges like nowadays when you're like judging a sequel, it's like, oh, it's got that Empire Strikes Back feel to it. Like, you know, things are darker. They took it in a different way. It doesn't end all happy-go-lucky.
Two Towers.
You know what?
It's like ends on a depressing note.
No, I was gonna say fucking depressing. So here you got Han Solo, hot shot, baller. You're kind of like ace in the pocket, and he meets Darth Vader, fastest draw you ever see. You know, Han Solo's firing shots off at Darth Vader, and Darth
And you
Vader's
see
like,
how badass Darth
yeah,
Vader
Darth
is.
Vader's just like,
No,
Literally
nah.
unfazed
Like
by.
waves his
He doesn't
shots
even
away.
need a fucking lightsaber.
You know, and
he
it-
literally just blocks death with his hands.
Yeah, it's like,
I think that's the only
fuck.
time we see him use that power.
But whatever,
Yeah.
man.
Well, but I will say, episode 7 later, you see it. It's somewhat even cooler power.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that
That's
is
sick.
impressive, and the fact that
Well,
it's like
we'll get there.
Yeah.
I would do that if I could brag like that, where I'd have like shitty conversations with you guys the whole time, and then be like something would happen. Like, what was that? It's like, oh, I was just holding that back the whole time.
But that's the other thing, I guess. Boba Fett, you brought it up as soon as we talked about it. Cool ass fucking character. looked super badass. As a kid, I was totally obsessed with Boba Fett.
Having no
Yeah.
backstory for him. Like,
Yeah, you didn't know
we all
anything.
just,
about
man
his
with
we all
no
just
name.
had our action figure and we made up our own stories.
Yeah.
For him, you know?
That's
Something about putting a rocket pack on somebody
One
when
of
you're a
my-
kid, immediately cool.
Yeah.
one of my few beefs with the Star Wars prequels is not with any of the backstories they did, other than giving Boba Fett a backstory.
Yeah, because that really does ruin it.
Like
Yeah, I
it's
think,
he's fucking Clint Eastwood with no name. Fucking
yeah, no, you're
you know,
right.
his horse is his jetpack and Slave One.
And then, like, basically the whole plot revolved around him.
Yeah, that was a bit much.
Yeah, and he's like the savior of the Empire. In
I mean,
this.
don't get me wrong. He was so badass. I agree that if given the opportunity, I would fucking make an army of this guy.
He's the Liam Neeson of like, if there would have been a phone call on that, like it would have been. I have a very specific set of skills.
Knowing that
I
there's,
will find you.
knowing that was literally an infinite amount of them, and now that there's down to just him. I mean, there's that
They
theory.
try to
There's
half
that
explain
theory out there, whatever, that Jango Fett dies.
or the
That Boba Fett dies, and that someone just
the
picks up
clone
the armor.
Boba Fett
But
dies,
we'll-
and someone takes
I-
his armor and just
Just
goes by
to
the name.
burst a bubble for you, in the Clone Wars animated series and in Rebels,
They get rid
Boba
of
Fett
that.
is a character.
And he's still the clone.
He's a teenager. He's like,
Yeah, but whatever. He could die whenever. I'm just not.
he's even.
not
I'm
looking it
reading a
up.
book right now, a Dark Disciple, and he's in that
I
as well.
honestly, and in the
As like a
Boba Fett
teenager.
character thing, there's another slight against him that I think is worse, and that is his supposed death in the next in Return. It's a lame death for a cool character.
Yeah. Goes down with that Wilhelm scream.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that even in the new canon, they've announced that Boba Fett did die there. Like even
through the Snorlax
yeah,
pit.
because like the
Did he
Digested
die
for
or did?
months.
Yeah, he doesn't
Okay.
because the Mandalorian armor, this is stomach acid. He gets unconscious. He wakes up and he's just like basically slowly burning because he's got all the armor and he like crawls his way out.
I don't know.
Tough
We'll
luck,
wait
Ryan.
and see. But I mean, all right. I got to get the
Would
feel
that
on
not-
everybody.
Would that not be a cool spot to fucking start a Boba Fett story? Not giving the prequel because, like I said, fuck the prequel story. No one cares. Fucking cut to him literally just like greedy, grimy, fucking crawling out of a fucking Sarlacc pit. Like
That's the opening, like part 2 of the new movie.
when
the
they
next
could
movie.
try to do like they did in Judge Dredd, where you don't ever see Boba Fett's face. Where like even when he doesn't have the helmet on, all the shots are just like kind of like you don't see his face. And he's, that'd be kind of neat.
That would be cool. I
He
would
doesn't
like to
talk-
see another movie if it was,
He doesn't
an
talk though,
interesting
right?
one.
Like he doesn't say much. There would need to be a counterpart that's like talking to him. You know
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
get a
Like
partner.
he doesn't talk. It would be a weird movie that fucking maybe Tom Hardy would work then. I don't know.
All right, let's get. I gotta get your guys' feeling on it. Is it better than Episode 4?
Without nostalgia, yes. But I mean, Episode 4 is like I hold on to that. I still get as excited the first time.
See, nostalgia in this part. I have nostalgia for both. It doesn't play in, so
Yeah, and the
So
anxiety,
really,
the
you just
anxiety
think-
factor is huge.
just because it makes you anxious. So you think, what? Which one?
Even though I know I've seen all these movies 1,000 times, it's like still watching Episode 5. It's just like I get uneasy. Like it's like when I watch Episode 5, I have to watch Episode 6. Like there's closure in every movie except Episode 5. Like it's not a I'll just
Oh, it's yeah.
oh man, I got nothing to do today. I'll just watch fucking Episode 5.
I'm going to say it's below 4. I'm
That's what
going
you-
to keep 4 at the top.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I agree with you. I love this movie. I don't want it to be a knock. I'm literally probably like in my grand scheme of love of movies. It's like these two right next to each other, and I would debate myself over it, in my head on a pretty frequent occasion. And sometimes my mood changes. But right now I gotta go 4 is better.
Comparatively, 5 is way more exciting.
I hear you. But
There's just something humble about
There's-
4, man. Maybe it's just because we're
yeah,
Canadian.
it's the adventure, like it's a brand
Every
new
little
adventure.
boy's dream. I mean, without like your parental loved ones
And,
dying.
like the intro to R2 and C3PO, that was fun as a kid. It got your attention.
Oh,
So,
like the
like,
beginning of 4?
Yeah,
you mean?
like it's the plot wise, I think it is a lot better structured than 4. 4, we're just kind of like in deep in it. We're just kind of along for the ride at
Or
that point.
More than 5, you mean?
More than
Or,
5, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm with you. It's just the establishment in the universe, the beginning and everything about the pacing for 4. They're both obviously fantastic fucking movies. No Star Wars fan would ever not probably put these two and just be able to argue about them being like the greatest, Well, but I guess we'll find out
Are you
what
gonna
everybody's real.
Are you gonna put up a stink if it's below 4?
Oh no, I thought we were all in agreement.
Well, I think
this
we
is
were
really
all-
weird.
4?
Like
Number
we're
one?
2 for
5,
2
number 2.
for agreements.
All right. Well,
Like,
that's
that's like
good. I thought this would be the argument, and knowing that this isn't, I know that the next one will come into it because I know you're a fan.
Do you want to
Cody.
try to get this one in before a break?
Yeah, we'll do this right
well,
now.
there's
We'll get it
9,
done.
right? Or 7, I guess. We'll
There's
do.
7.
We'll
We'll do it right now. We're gonna get into this one. We'll take a break after this, but
All
I
right.
want to know episode
Fucking
6.
Ewoks, man. I fucking loved them when I was a kid.
I love Ewoks too. I'm not gonna take it. So
Oh,
right into
yeah.
episode
That
6.
was
So
softy.
I hear you. So this is episode 6, Return of the Jedi, released in 1983. Again, not directed by George Lucas. Richard, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Maroon, something like that. Written by Lee Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan again, and George Lucas. So, changing it up. No more George Lucas again on this one. So kind of all the great ones at this point. Not having George Lucas on them.
Okay, I'm gonna say that as much as I fucking love the opening to episode 4, the beginning of Jedi is probably the beginning of any movie ever.
What do you mean?
Like the opening, fucking
So Jedi, just to remind me, how does it open? I can't even remember.
Jabba's Palace.
Jabba's Palace. So, but it's 3PO and R2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they go up, and then you see in the background it's Lando and Leia. Well, you don't know it's Leia, I guess. You just see Lando creep in the background. You're like, oh, my fucking boy. And then Luke shows up, and this is like everybody that was rooting for Luke at this point and had to compete with all the Han Solo fanboys. Like, this is when finally Luke shows up, and you're just like, yes, I've been rooting for this guy the whole time.
Yeah, it's badass.
And
Luke.
he is what a Jedi is going to be. This is
walks
finally
in all
confident.
mysterious.
and we don't know about the Jedi Order, right? Like, we haven't seen at this point. I know. Yeah, no, we haven't. Fuck it, we haven't seen anything about the Jedi Order.
We've seen Yoda. We know.
So
like that
we,
much, but-
in our minds, when Luke rolls up wearing the fucking all black with the the Johnny Cash suit with the Michael Jackson glove,
oh yeah.
right? That is in our minds like the peak of what a Jedi can be. Like, Luke shows up reeking of confidence, like almost arrogance, and just
Well, what for when your first time watching it, what is seemingly arrogance? You don't know that it's all part of his master plan.
he has.
We don't know Jedi mind tricks.
He has that fucking humble look on his face. That's classic Luke when he first falls into the pit and he picks up like the bone, and you're like, classic Luke. But now baller Luke is gonna kill the Rancor. Like that opening.
But that scene had a ton of intensity when I was a kid.
Oh,
Like,
it was
that
amazing.
fucking, the Rancor fight. Like, I really was like, oh my god, like this crazy huge monster you haven't really seen other than like an AT-AT, like that big,
An
foreboding AT-AT. However you say it. I don't know.
We'll
It's
say
okay.
AT-AT, please.
I don't
You
know.
okay?
An AT-AT,
How do you say an STS?
an ATST. There's not a convenient way of doing that. Not an ATST.
Ats. I would be okay if you say ATS.
So I had to say AT-AT or ATST.
No, you have to say an AT-AT. Or
Anyway, so my point being, this giant, crazy, foreboding, like intimidating creature, right? Like that seems mythical and like dangerous and awesome. Like
Mhm.
in the like remastered versions, you see some bigger like animals and beasts type thing in Tatooine, but you don't see anything like as crazy as that Rancor and how like scary. It was fucking scary as a kid.
Claymation always scared me. I don't know why.
I remember I always felt really bad for the Rancor tamer.
I do even more now as an adult.
Wrangler, I think.
Is he a Wrangler? Okay.
But whatever he
Yeah,
was, he had a
he-
pet Rancor, and
yeah.
that Rancor got fucked up, and I felt bad for him wearing his T-shirt on his head.
Would you not just want to hang?
Yeah.
I'm only just imagining like that guy was friends with Jabba beforehand, right? And one crazy night, like they got fucked up, and like the guy just bought a Rancor. And he's like, "Dude, it's gonna get so big." He's like, "I'm buying it."
Literally,
And him
like
and Jabba just laughed about it, and then eventually it was like a problem. And Jabba's like,
I feel like we get the essential backstory of what that character is in the Harry Potter movies. That guy's Hagrid. Like he just loves animals. He sees like
He
the
wasn't
good
a
in
bad
them.
guy.
You know, he wasn't a bad guy.
where
He wasn't
else-
a bad Rancor.
No, where else in the universe, let alone in Tatooine, can a man just play with a Rancor? Jabba's palace was like he's not a bad guy. He was just
Yeah,
man.
and
You
it
know what?
wasn't. It
When
was
you
a good
put it out,
Rancor.
like along with that whole idea of Luke blowing up the Death Stars or the Death Star, I guess, and like killing all those contractors.
Oh, like the clerks
That clerk's
conversation.
comment, and,
Yeah.
Luke also,
Especially for this movie, yeah, it's still in construction, so there's still just workers there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Great, fantastic perspective.
Oh, that
on
wasn't Luke
return.
then. That would have been fucking Lando.
Lando that blew it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
All right, Luke's clean. But
Luke,
that's
still killed like hundreds of thousands of people. Like, granted, they were like villains, but he did do that. He did blow up. One
That
Death
is
Star.
rough, right?
War.
Because during that time, that would have been like conscription, probably, right?
Maybe is that how the Empire rolls?
I would assume that it was like an empire would come and occupy a planet, like we would all be of fighting age.
Well,
and
we
it's
don't
like,
really.
fuck it.
Yeah, we know. I guess at that point, stormtroopers are not necessarily clones, and they're not what we find out in Episode 7 is them being like
Well, no, by then
taken from birth or whatever, right? There may be a mix of the two, and that's still weird.
No, see, at this point, all the clones would be fucking. Because I'm right again. I mean, I'm watching Rebels, right? And the clones in that are old men, like they're fucking pushing 60. So
So when Rebels, how do they portray? Because that's right around the same time.
stormtroopers are recruits.
Recruits like regular people.
Yeah,
They're not like
and
children. Like
at this
Finn
point, they're
in
still
7.
fucking pro Empire. Like they're still happy that the Clone Wars has ended. People are kind of just only beginning to be afraid of the Empire. Some people are terrified because they've seen what the Empire is doing full force. But for the most part, not everyone's afraid of the Empire.
Okay. I can get
Stormtroopers
that.
are recruits, and it's almost like the Nazis, which is why I was comparing it to like the occupation, because like people that were pro Empire were just joining and becoming stormtroopers, but they also had this like youth program, so there was a bunch of kids just wearing
Like a Hitler Youth type.
yeah, where it was like getting young, which
Yeah.
kind of suggests more so in
In
episode
7.
7 when they get they're literally just taking kids at birth and grooming them to
So,
be fucking soldiers.
We all agree, fantastic at the beginning. Like that
Mhm.
whole Jabba's Palace thing is great. I will get to the knock though that I was saying about Boba Fett. He has a shit death. It's
Yeah,
like
well-
assuming that it's true that he dies and like taking out fan fiction and fan theories. He gets lamely bumped in the back and and dies. Like this super awesome character dies in an opening scene to this
Yeah.
movie and in a not cool way. He does cool stuff up until then, fires off like some cool
Han
shit.
Solo's luck, he rolled a fucking 20. And Boba Fett, I mean, he's just got accurate stats, but I mean,
Critical failure.
yeah, he tripped.
Yeah, that was rough. It was kind of showing like just this weird backpedaling for that character's
You love-
badassness. Like,
You
I
love
don't
the UFC.
understand.
Like
I enjoy
that
it,
shit
yeah.
can happen anytime. Like
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, people get rocked.
It's almost
Fucking-
like the actor that worked as Boba Fett like did something to piss off the writer.
Well, yeah, it's like George Lucas is really like he was just like, you know what,
Well, that
people like
is-
him too much.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy. Give him too much credit.
That's weird.
So my favorite thing about this movie is probably the changes of scenery, because we get the desert back from number 1 and the forests of Endor. It's
Which is George
Yeah.
Lucas's backyard.
the ranch.
That's Lucas Ranch.
That's pretty.
Is
cool.
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So they had
the redwoods and
They had
everything?
like a guy with like a camera on his chest, and he would basically just walk through the woods,
And they speed it up.
and then they would and it would just take 24 frames a second or whatever with these still shots, and it would just they sped that up, and that was the fucking speeder bike chases. Through the,
That's simple.
cool.
and
yeah.
that's just repeated shots of George Lucas's backyard. at
Awesome.
Lucas
Yeah.
Ranch.
Again, Endor, or the forest moon of Endor.
Yeah, we
Uh,
meet the vicious Ewoks.
Yeah, Ewoks
Which-
cool. I loved them. I did as a kid. I enjoyed it, and I don't hate on that
Constantly,
part.
We're trying to eat everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a weird thing. Is like that starts your introduction to them is like the one is like friendly Wicket, I guess I think is that Ewok's name. Friendly with Leia, but later, literally tries to eat the main cast. They have skulls all around.
gonna say,
Later on, they're playing drums on stormtroopers' heads.
Well, helmets,
Well, we can
Yeah.
only
soup
assume that.
bowls, as they call them.
Soup bowl.
But
We get another Death Star scene.
that's the lame part.
The lame part.
we get the what becomes a trend in these movies, a repeat just kill the Death Star
Yeah.
ending. That was a good ending in the first one. Let's keep going. And granted, fun ending. That's still a fun ending. And this one's cool with like the Emperor like trying to like doing that whole
All right.
strike me down.
Well, see,
gotta-
fuck them, like actually flying the ships in. That final battle with Luke and Vader with the Emperor watching, just epic.
Yeah,
The
that's,
music, it's fucking sick. Luke's got his green saber. He's looking badass.
we didn't really talk about the Darth Vader Luke one fight scene in Emperor or the Obi-Wan and Vader in the first, but I agree with you. This is the first cool, really like feels great.
Yeah, when like Luke's striking down on him with like, use your anger.
Yeah,
You know what?
it's cool.
You use the word strike down, right? And in Star Wars A New Hope, Darth Vader strikes down Obi-Wan. You know, in number 5, Darth Vader strikes and cuts off Luke's hand. The battle scene with Luke and Darth Vader in Jedi, there's still like striking motions, like two-handed from over the shoulder coming
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, like that anger moment
Right,
of like
and,
grasping the saber with two hands
they
and
were,
like
like-
really going
They're
at it.
using like broadswords.
Exactly, right? Like the Jedi Knight, they
You
were-
feel like there's hatred filled when they
Well-
change to the two hand stance and like
Well, they
really
they act
swing
like
at
they're
it.
heavy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Is they modeled it completely after like a broadsword and knights, the way the
Yeah.
knights would fight.
Yeah,
You know, and they completely changed all that for like the prequels. And
Yeah,
They
it gets
start fighting
flashy
like
and-
fucking.
which I think is kind of neat because they you know, the more you get involved, like right now they said there's fighting styles. So if you were a Jedi Master and I apprenticed under you, I would use the fighting forms 5 and 7 because those are the ones you favored. You know, whereas if I went with Kyle, for example, I'm just pointing to Cody and assumed you guys all knew that. We knew that. But now I'm pointing to Kyle. Right? You know, whereas if I trade with Kyle, Kyle would favor a different style of fighting. And maybe if I apprenticed under him, you know, I get that Obi-Wan fights kind of like that though, right? He's got those like he's still pretty quick. He does those
Well, the way
fucking-
they show him fighting in the prequels
Actually, you know what?
compared to
Anakin and fucking Obi-Wan are ballers in the first one. Like those lightsabers don't weigh anything. You know, like they're like
Yeah.
fucking bartenders at their bar.
and then they
flare.
just like they get old, I guess. Lightsabers getting heavy, Sonny.
yeah.
Well, Darth Vader, I get that. The guy's fucking mostly machine.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Palpatine barely uses a lightsaber at all.
Well,
Darth-
I actually like that he never does in these like first 3 movies.
Oh man,
I hate when it gets to like Yoda and him using it. I liked the idea of like they were so powerful they didn't need
Yeah.
lightsabers.
that's like Palpatine. I don't know. It's like Darth or Bruce Wayne when he gets real old, and he's just wearing that exoskeleton suit, and then people
Yeah.
just call him. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't even have time for fucking tricks anymore. He's just like, I'm a boss. Palpatine doesn't have time for shit. It's just like if you're looking at me, I'm not getting a lightsaber out. You're already fucking. dead.
You're already fucked. You let me talk. All right, so what do you think, Cody? I have a feeling this is more your movie.
Yeah, but I've recently began to like episode 4 more,
man.
so
Oh,
I'm gonna put it above Empire and put it number 2.
Are we going
That's you?
fucking 3 for 3?
I'm
No way.
Wait, you're saying it's above Empire?
saying it's number 2.
Yeah, I'm saying it's number 2.
Wow. All right. I'll say I'm the standout on this one. Not that it's a huge disagreement on it, but I'd say Empire's better
Yeah.
because of the mystery still being held there. For
Well, I've
certain
got
things.
other movies that are gonna take spots in the top 3 as well.
I got.
Oh wow!
But for right now, I got 2 words to sum up what Jedi is going to beat Empire.
What's that?
All right.
Slave Leia.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's a good. You put up that argument. I didn't even fight yet, and you
That's-
put up a good defense.
Yeah, just to point out earlier on, we were saying like you know the apartment style. Yeah, we got some Star Wars curtains, and I got a Slave Leia cut out. She's all right.
It's hard to disagree with that.
So yeah,
But my
give us some
stance-
arguments.
My stance would be on the change in Han Solo's character. I didn't like as much, but it still makes sense. I'm not going to put up a big stink about it. Like he goes from like Mr. Lovey-Dovey, worried about thinking his girlfriend suddenly is switching over to
lovey dovey? She
in Jedi. Is what I'm saying. He's lovey-dovey. Now he's suddenly worried about Leia might be with Luke, and he seems all panicked about it. Like in
She
that.
tells him he loves her. She says she loves him at the end of number 5.
Yeah, exactly. And he
He's not
says,
worried.
what does he say? I know.
Yeah.
He doesn't say I love you. He's like Mr. playing it at a loop. Like,
And honestly, Kate.
but later, now he's like panicked, and I get it. He's like had a scare with like a death scare. He's like worried now. He's just like he's into it more, and now he's suddenly worried about Luke taking his fucking girl, and that's a little lame for him. But
Luke
fine,
blew
it
up
makes
the Death
sense.
Star and saved Han.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But
Baller.
I just that's what I would say.
I think
is,
if Luke
like,
just
my-
kinda
I
took
don't
some of
like
his
that
manliness.
part of
And
it.
then also she knows now that like his dad is also kind of a big deal.
Yeah. All right. I want, like I said, I'm not going to put up a big stink on my personal list. I would put 5 above 6, but I can understand the argument, and I'm not going to put up enough fight to defend Slave Leia. Like I can't.
So we're in agreement. 3 for 3.
Oh yeah. Well, not 3 for 3 with a slight. Like my opinion is
He
different,
doesn't
but I'm
agree.
not.
I know he doesn't, but it doesn't matter. It's 2 versus 3,
And our counting gets worse.
the 2 have spoken.
All right, so we're finished here with the, in my opinion, good Star Wars movies. And not a big surprise, I guess, to anybody.
Can I
We just went as we went through episode 4, 5, and 6.
just do
1,
like
2, 3.
a little mini side goat before we sign off here?
No, I thought it's 465.
Yeah, 4, 6, 5.
Oh, sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
I was wishing for myself.
Yeah.
But
4, 6,
especially
5,
with
yeah.
like the new Game of Thrones episodes, this is really relevant. I want a little mini goat of the greatest of all times I love you scenes and the responses. So, we got Star Wars, right? Leia tells Han, like I love you with I know.
We know.
Don't
Don't go too long on this.
No. We got Twin Peaks, right?
Yeah.
When Bobby tells or no
She says, I love you, and he goes, I think I
no,
love
I
you
guess
too. I guess
I love you too. And then in the new Game of Thrones episode, Mormont tells Daenerys that I love you, and she just fucking stares blankly at him. But I'm gonna put the Hans at the top for sure. Anyway, that was just like for fun.
All right, so through the ranking of Star Wars right now, we have at number 1, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Number 2, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and number 3, Empire Strikes Back, Episode 5.
All right. Now to the CG.
Yeah, we'll get into the terrible shit right after this quick break.
He pulls me into this dark office alone. He lays me down, and he's like, take off your shirt. Hey, he was good. He was a professional. Jason's warm. He loops me out low, gets it done. And he's rubbing this thing all over. He's very gentle with me. I'm about to pass out. Dude's taking forever. And now I'm slightly out of breath. He squirts me down all over my belly. But he did say that I didn't have to put my shirt back on, which was weird.
Oh, yeah. They also talk about comics. Long Box Small Talk, weekly on bmoviesandebooks.com.
All right, we're back with the prequels,
The good ones.
the garbage ones. All right, so I guess we'll get kicking it with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, released in 1999. I was 10 years old. This movie came out.
Yeah, I was hyped as fuck when this movie came out.
Directed by George Lucas, story by George Lucas.
Attaboy.
I like this movie.
Yeah, I thought it was cool as fuck when it came
Oh
out.
yeah, I loved this shit when I was 10. It was awesome.
Darth Maul was an epic villain.
Bum, 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 bum. Like the fucking Darth Maul fight scene.
Yeah,
amazing.
we got introduced to pod
The
racing.
Duel of Fates.
Now this is pod racing. It's working.
And to be honest, young Anakin's probably my favorite Anakin.
Oh yeah, he gets a lot. We get people shit on this movie, obviously, but I
'Cause
don't
Jar Jar.
hate young Anakin in this. I'm fine with him being innocent.
I
and a
think he
kid.
was cool.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's fine. Like it didn't bother me. It still doesn't bother me. There's parts of this movie that bother the fuck out of me,
Like what?
but that's not one of them.
What really bothers you?
Ugh. The CGI backgrounds, fucking Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Man, they were just excited. CGI was new.
What did you
So I
guys think
get
of the
that.
droids being like the villainous army in this one?
I
I thought it was definitely a
I'm
step
fine
down
with it,
from
but
Stormtroopers.
it's stupid that they're like comically terrible. Like
Yeah.
they leaned a
Like
little
they
too
have,
hard
they
into the
have, they have
comedy
bad
part. with some-
senses of humor.
There's too much comedy in this. You know, too many what are supposed to be funny characters. You know, like you get Jar Jar, like this like klutz of a character. Then you get the droids essentially also being that same type of character. You get other scenes where things are like a little lighthearted, and I get that it's a time where maybe things are lighthearted. You know, it's before a war. You know, it's things are okay in the universe, but it's not what I wanted out of it. As an adult, it's certainly not what I wanted out of a Star Wars movie, you know?
Yeah, it definitely appealed more towards the young
Kids.
audience.
Which I gotta say, as a strategically money-making standpoint, good move.
Yeah.
Because it got a new generation into Star Wars. Say what you will about those as an adult, they captivated an audience to get excited about movies that were, at that point in time, 30 years old.
I thought it was a great movie. I'm all about the Phantom Menace.
You're all you're all about that. You're putting it above episode 4. You're like, this is the one.
You should
I'm gonna
send that
show-
review into B&E. Just
That's just like
be like -2 on the Jungle Book scale.
all about.
I'm all about the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it fucking better than that. I'd say it's like on my list is like probably number 3.
On the total list of all Star Wars, this is your number 3.
Man, back on the nostalgia scale, I was excited as fuck for that movie. Liam Neeson kills it. Ewan McGregor kills
At
it.
number 3, you're saying this is like
This is the first time we get to see the Sith.
So what? You're just placing that above Return of the Jedi?
well, no, in this list, it's placing it above Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. I told you.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Oh.
Empire Gaming Anxiety, I already told you.
Fuck off! It gave you anxiety, but you can't put this goddamn movie above them. Like, no goddamn way.
There's a good chance when this is done, I know how tonight's gonna end for me.
Kyle,
I'm
I'm kind of leaning towards Craig on this.
Oh,
Man.
are you kidding? No, no, goddamn it, no. Oh man,
Dude,
I'm
fucking
in
pod
defense
racers.
mode.
Pod racers
Racers.
were sick, dude.
All right. Oh, God, you know what's sick? My fucking stomach. Hearing the two of you, I've been sitting in a room for like years and years with you two, and you're
Wrong? Yeah, it sucks.
I
I'm
didn't
sorry.
know I was sitting next to fucking idiots.
Man, the only thing that I don't like about that movie, fuck the CGI. I don't even give a shit. Yoda bawling. I don't even care. The only thing I don't like is Jar Jar. And I mean, if that's it, and I even feel like they did it on
Yeah, it's really
purpose.
easy to ignore that.
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, no one likes
Oh
that
God!
guy. Everything has something. Like that. Other than that, that movie is.
You've
Fuck.
given.
I
I'm getting
thought
a fucking stress headache.
Darth Maul having the double-ended
Oh, man.
lightsaber, the three-way battle with Qui-Gon, fucking Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul is epic.
See, Kyle, I feel like you're getting too caught up in. You're getting caught up in Star Wars as a film, and I think you really need to let that go. Like you're critiquing the wrong parts of these movies. Like you're getting real wrapped up in the wrong shit. Like the story of this movie, I will sit down and tear apart movies left and right, and that's why I think I like watching bad television. And I'm not saying Star Wars is bad television, but I'm not at no point am I like my guards are fucking gone. I'm just ready to watch an epic story when I watch Star Wars. Like I don't give a shit about who directed it or who wrote it. I don't give a fuck who's playing who. I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. As soon as you hear that, fucking, that's like oh man, I just gave myself a chill.
See, I'm just this one's just 100% nostalgia for me, and I will agree with putting it above Empire.
All right.
Let's hear.
I was
your,
about to go into this thinking I'll say some nice things about this movie because not many people have nice things to say about it.
So far, you're the only one that has something bad to say about it.
Oh God.
Man,
All
Liam
right,
Neeson?
all right. No. All right, you get it out of your system. What do you got? Liam Neeson doing what?
His death is pretty awesome.
Some bad
those-
acting throughout the
those
film.
fucking when
Terrible
Obi-Wan,
act against a green screen nonsense.
The scenes when they're going through like the red doors, and like Darth Maul's in one, fucking Qui-Gon's meditating in one, Obi-Wan is all panicky in one. Though that is, that is amazing.
All right.
That sums up not only the
This movie
Jedi and the
starts
Sith, but
on-
Padawans.
They're going for the peace talks. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan,
we get introduced to the Trade Federation.
the Trade Federation. Let's start with lame thing number 1. Trade Federation fucking people with their weird lip nonsense.
They're basically Asians.
Yeah, they're basically racist
Hey, what
ass
the
Asian
fuck?
characters.
You're just getting racist all of a
No,
sudden.
no. Those are stupid fucking characters. Let's get into. They're cowardly. I don't understand what their fucking motivations are. The whole thing is
Money.
stupid. Well, yeah. All right, let's
Credits.
go with money. We got the droidicas and everything that's kind of cool in that scene. Like as far as being young, watching.
You
some
said it
action
wrong.
Thing. What?
Like the droidicas.
Yeah.
It's droidicas.
There's like so many ways to say it. You said it wrong.
Sorry. But all right, Jar Jar Binks, obviously the biggest negative of this movie for almost everybody. You guys have already said it's a bad spot in this goddamn movie. It's absolutely terrible. Not only does he ruin,
But
that
the
opening
Gungans are
bit-
awesome.
I like
No,
Na-
the
I like
Gungans are
Naboo.
not fucking awesome.
I didn't like the Gungans, but I like Naboo. Just
Naboo's
Naboo is
fine,
great.
but whatever. But
the
the
architecture
Gungans,
was really cool.
Yeah.
The yellow starship that Anakin steals is pretty sick.
Which I mean, I had a toy of it when I was a kid.
Yeah, I did too, man. It was
I
awesome.
always like thought I was like, man, he's backwards.
it
You know, but
It
that's
did- it
like
did look
that's like
backwards.
the X-wing fucking still wrapped up in this.
I was always confused as a kid about why everything looked so much newer and fancier.
You already answered this.
I know
earlier.
I did, but I was just saying as a kid I was confused.
You know,
But all right, fuck. Liam Neeson, I like him in certain movies. He's not good in this movie.
his death was great.
Yeah, that fight scene I won't dispute is probably the best fight scene in any of them. Like Darth Maul is an amazing character. That whole part with the music, everything, the cutaway to the escape from all good stuff. The meditating between the doors. I'm not gonna take away any of those parts. The rest of this is filled with nonsense that not only is not good in that movie, but ruins other movies. You got your metachlorians,
Yeah,
your
the
fucking
metachlorians.
Jar Jar nonsense, your Trade Federation nonsense. You're obviously understanding who the Emperor is, but
Okay, Kyle,
it's
I
not
agree.
revealed.
You're right. I am. It's nonsense.
See, nothing you just
It's
said
not
bothered
better
me.
than Empire Strikes Back.
It's not better than Empire Strikes Back. It's in no way, shape, or form. No fucking.
I'm
bit of
not. I'm
that.
not putting it down like Kyle is.
One fight
that
scene.
movie's still about Empire.
I
feel
totally
kinda dumb
ready to put
saying
this at the next one in the when the rest of these come up. I'll fight for Phantom Menace on the spot on the list, but not giving it better than Empire Strikes Back. No goddamn way. No way. How is it possibly better than that, Greg? How? What?
Yeah.
I just think you're just getting upset about the wrong
But
things.
give me a knock against Empire. You didn't have anything bad to say about that film earlier, and you already have Jar Jar to say now. And you'll give Metachlorians another fucking knock.
It's kind of hard to compare like Misa to
Yeah, that
Luke. I am your
stupid
father.
repairing the fucking pod racer thing, like with the fucking numb tongue nonsense, and like, oh,
just as a fan,
Annie, you're
I
never
think
gonna do it.
I like. I like.
It's working. It's working.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the universe more. I mean,
The universe, more. It's the same fucking universe. It's Star Wars. The universe was made in the last 3 movies.
No, you were just saying that the universe seemed richer, and what's up with the Naboo starfighters versus the X-wings.
Okay, yeah, I get that it's a
I like-
prequel.
I-
It's
I like
building
this
that part of it,
universe.
but they do a pretty bad job. I mean, in that part of the universe, they're explaining things that they never needed to explain. They're ruining other parts of other films.
All right. Well,
I mean, I'm already ready to I'm not going to change
So,
my mind,
like-
but I've already lost, so it doesn't matter.
we've already changed Kyle's mind on something else. Kyle's kind of changed my mind on this.
You guys aren't going to change my mind at all tonight.
But so, is it okay if we put it at the bottom?
Oh, I mean,
Because there's going to be more movies to go below it.
And I'll argue for this as a better movie than other movies coming up. But it's just, I
Well,
can't let it.
I'd hope so.
So this is number 4 then.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, it's the only spot I can go in
I mean,
right now, in my opinion.
It would only be one. I'm not upset.
yeah.
All right.
I mean,
Thank
it's not a bad Star Wars film.
There are bad Star Wars films, and
Yeah,
we're going to
they're
bring it up
coming.
right now. Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. I thought this movie
This
was dumb.
is filth.
I saw it in theaters. I thought it was really stupid. I was really
This
excited
was
for it too.
nostalgia's worn away here.
See,
Yeah.
You're old enough at
This
this
list
point
is
to
going to
know.
sort itself out because, I'm going to agree that. I mean, it's not going to be a bombshell. You guys are going to put this at number 7. I understand. I'm not going to argue that only because there's 6 other movies I like more than this one. But I like this movie a lot.
All right.
For-
You know what? I say let's all agree. we all assume this is the worst, right? Like you just admitted that you know that's where it's going.
we're not gonna tiptoe around
let's
this.
not even. We'll do the nice thing here and say, let's say something nice about Attack of the Clones, because Greg has nice things to say about it. We'll open it with just me saying, and I'm sure this qualifies for everybody. This is a piece of shit. A goddamn travesty of cinema,
Man.
and a travesty to Star Wars in general.
See,
Like, yes, it moves the plot
No.
forward, but also it's stupid as shit. Now, Greg will go with nice things to say about it, because I got nothing left in my heart for this fucking thing.
Okay, you suck. I'm gonna fucking pick something real stupid then. So, first off, I've always wanted to be a Jedi. Okay, and I mean, as like a kid at an appropriate age for that movie came out, I'd already made peace with the fact that I am not going to ever be a Jedi. And nor am I going to have... I mean, it was before that. I'm just saying, but I'd already made peace with this. Like, I mean, I was already smoking weed and shit well into these movies.
So we're 2002 is when this movie came out. I'm not sure. I'm not going to do the math for how old you are for the audience, but that's funny.
So, anyway, you know, I mean, I'm not going to be a Jedi at this point.
I would have thought the smoking weed brought it back up in you.
No.
Like, maybe it's a chance.
But I mean, I'm also not going to bang Natalie Portman, right? So these movies make
I think you have a better shot at that.
So these movies, I like to lose myself in them once in a while. And one of my favorite scenes, for some reason, when I always think of this movie, I always think of Anakin floating the little fruit
Oh my god, that was such a bad fucking scene.
across. And he's just like, or Master, like, oh man, Obi-Wan would be so mad at me right now. And he's just like,
That's what you chose to be like, this movie was good?
No, but I mean, it's just like, Anakin, you can see him where it's just like, he doesn't want to follow the Jedi Order. You know, this is a guy that has ultimate power, where it was so easy to, like, that movie was just, you know what I mean? Like, he's like the richest kid in the universe, and it's just like, but you got to be this Pope-like character, where all he wants to do is just bang fine honeys the whole time, and like be a pimp with his force powers.
So you're sympathizing with Anakin?
Through that whole movie, man, like
I feel like that's the direction they were going for, and they
I-
caught Greg.
You know, he that time that he has on Naboo with her is just like he's seeing in his life, where he's just like
Just a really nice time, eh?
it's just a nice time. You know, like they have like a little roll in the grass, and they fucking Padme's fucking. Do you know that Star Wars universe doesn't have underwear?
Oh yeah, because they told that.
Yeah, like, so
Princess
this thing, you
Leia.
know, she's not wearing anything. She's having fun rolling around in the grass in that dress. It's wonderful. She's like reliving her life as a kid.
Oh, this is. How do you? Never mind.
Okay, it's a good time.
It's a nice thing.
Anyway, Natalie Portman looks gorgeous in that movie. You get to see the end scene is pretty awesome. When you get to see all the Jedis, that's like the most we ever get to see that many Jedis together.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Okay.
Oh, like the big fight scene
You
towards
know,
the end.
and that's amazing.
Seeing multiple Jedis, yeah, that was.
That is kind of cool, but the end fight scene in this, I remember at the time.
Isn't
people
it
didn't
it's
think
with Yoda doing backflips and shit?
Yeah, that's
So,
some terrible shit.
They model, like we were talking about earlier, Darth Vader and Luke using like a knight stance, right, like a heavy broadsword. They were saying that for Yoda, they like combined as many fighting styles as they could think of. And I
Yeah.
want to say, like off the top of my head, like a couple of them was like,
Street Fighter?
I don't know about
Not
that.
even
In
that.
Mortal
No, Street
Kombat.
Fighter's way more.
Well, just like
watchable.
button mashing. That's
One-
all I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
imagine.
One of the ones that they did use though was like the Drunken Master, like Jackie Chan.
It's
Yeah, I don't know. It was
so
weird.
bad.
Just
He's
like it was an
flipping around
influence.
for
Like
no
they were just like
reason.
watching
Yeah.
kung fu movies and like.
And then he hobbles away after?
Yeah, picks up his cane and
Okay.
hobbles away.
yeah.
It's just god awful. That's what I'm talking about. And these, like, this movie's the most guilty for ruining shit. In
I
other
was
movies.
really intrigued though when this movie first introduced Obi-Wan going to that place where they were making the clones.
That's a huge mystery.
Like at first
Weird mystery part.
I did find it kind of intriguing, you know?
I did like the whole revealing that of like understanding where the war happens. Like you hear about the Clone Wars, and that whole reveal of why it comes to be is cool. Like, granted, I said the Trade Federation thing is stupid, but seeing that whole geopolitical type nonsense come together to find out why the universe is at war is a neat thing. It's just surrounded by nonsense. Like, just weird reasons as everything happened. The only cool-ish thing, other than, like, it's terrible to... see the clones, it's terrible to find out that Boba Fett's a fucking clone. But it is cool to find why it's called a clone.
I think that's
army and
awesome.
everything,
I
and,
think
like,
that's cool.
You just said it wasn't cool earlier, and you
I
hope
know.
he wasn't a clone.
No, but I mean, okay, but
It's true.
I know this. All right. To meet Boba Fett and to see that to have a reveal for his backstory, I think is uncool. But seeing as we are telling the story of the Clone Wars, the big mystery would be is who is the clone of. To find out that that is a lineage of Boba Fett is pretty cool. Even though you don't want it, that's pretty cool. Shush. That I don't know, man. My favorite. I know that I said this is like my least favorite of the movies. I'm going to rank the Clone Wars as my favorite period in the Star Wars universe, though.
So
Okay.
you like the TV show?
I fucking love the show Clone Wars. That universe is amazing.
I
We get to
that.
see because, like in Empire, we keep kind of mentioning, like in A New Hope, we see a used universe, like it's exhausted, resources are emptied.
Yeah.
The Clone Wars
Is the
burnt,
peak.
burnt out the universe. Yeah, like the Clone Wars, we see Empire or Phantom Menace, where Naboo is like this beautiful haven, and like we know that Coruscant is where like the Jedi Temple is like like the center of the universe.
This
When you go do the Clone Wars, it's everyone's fighting at top gear. Like they're pulling out all the guns, all the stops. The Jedi are.
This is why this movie is this much worse, though. You understand that, right? Like it was like they were given the thing that we all wanted to know about.
It had a lot of potential.
You had every bit of potential, and it squandered every last second of it. Like it really just, it does falls flat in every way. If there was one thing I was curious about coming out of A New Hope, it's like, what are those Clone Wars they're talking about?
If you hadn't watched the Clone Wars, and I think that that's like a huge thing, is to me that period is so well explained and explored.
Yeah,
where
but
it's more
obviously
than
not
just
in this
that.
film, though.
In that film, it's not, and so like I mean, you're right. I mean that's why I
Yeah,
I
you're
put
like
the
you're
mo-
not. I know you're.
I
not
put the
gonna-
movie at the bottom of the list for the Star Wars films, but in my opinion, that the Clone Wars are amazing. Period. And I know you guys. The Anakin portrayed in that movie isn't the greatest.
I think that's the worst part of the movie.
It doesn't
3.
bother me, but I mean Anakin.
He's horrible.
Anakin in that period during the Clone Wars
It
is
should be
amazing.
cool. He should
And I
be
mean,
cool, but he's not cool in that fucking movie.
I understand why he's whiny and emo because that's what Darth Vader
The-
should have been like when he was
the-
young.
Yeah, but he's just not there. He does none of it's right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. The clones. I love the clones. I love the clone army. I love their tech. I love their guns. I love them just fucking destroying,
Looking like stormtroopers and knowing
destroying
that
the
it's eventually
droids. The
gonna turn
droids
away.
just.
At this time, you think they're good. The clones are good. The
clones are awesome.
It's cool to see and know in the future that that's going to turn against.
See, that's the thing, right? You watch these movies knowing that Anakin or that Darth Vader is Anakin. Anakin turns to the dark side. That's like the point of the prequels. But the one bombshell you didn't see was these heroic clones turning. And to me, that was a fucking cut, man. I love the clones. Because in the movie, they're not really like given identities, but you come to fucking identify with like Cody and Rex. They mentioned, I think, in that movie. Cody definitely, he's the yellow one. He's like Obi-Wan's friend.
Well, yeah, and obviously the new movie expands on the fact that these people do have personalities behind these masks. With like, we come to know Finn.
Oh well, like yeah, but those aren't those aren't clones. Those are actual people, mind you. In that scenario, I would say the clone has more of a personality than Finn does.
Yeah.
I mean, Finn seems really fucking personable for somebody that was. I guess maybe he just grew up knowing that everybody he knows him somehow.
All right, well, so we did all agree. This one's just going to sit at the bottom.
Yeah, I already wrote it down. Like as soon as this conversation started, it's the bottom. And I don't even Greg. I appreciate that you appreciate this movie. I do. It's good that you can find the good in it.
I mean, the only thing that I don't like about this movie, Samuel L. Jackson.
The only thing.
This is fucked up. Like this, that's the part. That's like not even like.
I actually kind of forgot about him. He's kind of an idiot.
Oh, he's kind of a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like. I'm not getting me wrong. He's in episode 1 too.
But I mean,
Yeah,
I hate him more in this.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad stuff. Purple lightsaber and everything.
But Coming on to episode 3, not too much better.
No,
I like
you're right.
episode 3.
I mean, I can find more cool shit in this than Attack of the Clones. Like there's more to save there. There is like that cool seeing Anakin turn to Darth Vader part of, even though I still think it's poorly acted in Hayden Christensen.
He's
But
brutal.
I mean, it's there, and that's kind of cool to watch.
Acted, or is it poorly written? And
It's both. It's both by a long. That's the problem with all the prequels, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's poorly written, and then probably poorly acted because these people didn't have other actors to deal with. They had a green screen to deal with. They don't have a fucking emotional resonance because there is, like, how are you supposed to just literally look at a wall and act well? It's not going to happen.
And I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much.
I don't know. This one, I don't know. I'll try again, like, to say better things than negative because the world is negative on these movies. But I don't know. Last fight scene is overly CGI'd, but cool. Sometimes
I already know how this whole fucking ranking system's gonna end.
You seem so depressed about it, but I'm giving you the chance to say your opinion. It's not like we're trying to overbury it. I just gave you a whole Attack of the Clones section of say nice things. Go nuts here. Say your piece.
Revenge of the Sith, man, is the most like upsetting. Like I said, episode 5 gives me anxiety. Episode 3 makes me the most sad. Like
why? Because of Anakin
because of Anakin
killing kids.
Wait, but it makes you the most sad because the movie makes you sad, or makes you the most sad because
of his acting is so fucking
No,
brutal.
because of the story. Like I'm actually just upset.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Like I mean, again, I'm not looking at the bad
that.
acting.
Yeah, but
or the
even when
bad
you knew it was
anything,
coming.
like I said, it was the clones that cut me the most, man. Because I didn't see that coming. Or
Turning on the.
I love the clones, and seeing them do that, like that was cold, you know. And then Anakin just going and cutting down these kids, and it's like
younglings.
Anakin is just that much in love, you know. Like he's trying to hold on to something that he's just losing really quickly.
It's passion, eh?
It's passion. He's blinded. You know, this is a guy like again who remembered rolling around in the hay. You know, and now he's being told he can't have anything.
Yeah, but he also remembers rolling around the sand. I hate sand. It gets everywhere.
Dude, he fucking was never allowed to complain, and all of a sudden he was pampered. You know, I don't know.
Never allowed to fucking complain. What are you talking about? He's always complaining. That's all he ever does.
When he was a kid, he was a baller. He was just like, there's a storm
No,
coming.
he was a tough little kid.
Yeah, but then as soon as he becomes a Jedi, he's a whiny bitch about the whole thing.
He's sensitive.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get that
All
that's
that
supposed to be his
sand got in his
undoing. I
vagina.
get the whole like story for him, and that would have been cooler. But that's what makes it more upsetting that this movie just doesn't do it right. You know,
Obi-Wan and Anakin's fight.
How does it end with Yoda in this one? He just
Fighting-
takes off. He's like,
yeah,
peace
he
the fuck
runs
out.
after
Him
fighting
and the
Emperor
Wookiees, like someone, like the clones try to shoot him, and he fucking cuts his head off. And like the Wookiees are looking at him like, oh.
Yeah, I think he crawls through a vent for a while, and
That
like,
doesn't happen. That's a number 2.
no, that's 3. That's after he fights Palpatine. That he crawls through the vents to escape.
I thought he was on.
He fights.
No, at the end of 2, he just runs away after Count Dooku, like that whole fight. Or he doesn't run away. That fight ends, and then they go away in a ship. In 3 is like in the fight in the Senate, when then he leaves through some weird like.
What? No, because that doesn't. How does that make sense? Because then in Order 66, he's like, he's out and about.
Yeah, he escapes that and lives, and then goes and fights the Emperor.
No, then at some point, I don't know. He fucking just he gets a little ship and just heads out to Dagobah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's
And-
I'm pretty sure he's like talking to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, he
like,
talks
through
to
messages.
Obi-Wan, and it says, I've got a message from an old friend of yours, which is referencing Qui-Gon, and has a new technique for him to train, and tells him to split up the kids.
A character that is amazing that they introduced. I think they introduced him in number 2, but is Bail Organa, like Leia's stepdad.
Yeah, I think
He's
that's in
a
2,
fucking huge character, and in number 3, I think he's great. You know, when they show him like adopted Leia, it's kind of fucking rude that he didn't take Luke as well.
Well, they decided that splitting them up is
Splitting
best.
them up is best, and so he, you know, he's like my wife always wanted a daughter.
Luke definitely gets the shit end of the stick.
Yeah.
there.
He does, but I mean, he also becomes the main character later.
Yeah, but I mean, in general, has a way worse life than Leia. Assumingly, like Leia's raised well. She's educated and like becomes like a general.
Does that not just make the more you suffer, right? I mean, it's like Luke almost makes Luke
It's a good
character.
thing maybe in the grand scheme, because then Luke would have been grown up too powerful. Like he would have.
He's just a small town boy, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he's just got the talent. He's like a big fish in a small pond kind of thing,
Okay,
But
well, think about it. No,
if
man,
you gave him all the resources in the world,
this is actually kind of scary. When
Yeah,
he was
we
on
would've died.
Tatooine, right? He fucking got all his murderous rage out by killing womp rats. Imagine if he grew up in the royal family. He'd
With
be
privilege.
He'd
He'd be like-
having the guards bring in hobos.
he'd be Joffrey. He'd be
Yeah.
like the pop collar asshole that goes to
Yeah.
like Harvard.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's a good thing he had a little fucking street cash to kill or something, because otherwise
yeah, it might have been bad for
it might
everybody.
have got out of hand.
So, how are we gonna vote on this one, guys?
I say it's better than 2. That's my opinion.
That's it.
And yeah, then it sits right there. It's only better than 2 because of the plot transition of understanding where like how Anakin becomes Anakin. Not that it's well done or anything in this, but just seeing it is kind of neat.
You mean like
It
how
has
he
a
becomes
novelty
Vader?
to it. Yeah, becomes Vader. That whole understanding why he's upset, even though again badly done, but like his. I guess I like seeing him understanding where the dark side comes through in him.
I agree. Neither of those movies stuck out too hard. I probably haven't seen any of them probably over a dozen times, but it is better than the second one just because the nonsense romance garbage, and number 2 was just so awful that this one's a little bit better. Even though I didn't like seeing him turn into Vader, I thought they could have done that way more badass.
But seeing it
Not
happen,
going,
it still has its not. Yeah, that no is bad. But yeah,
Yeah, that was the blend of
what?
James Earl Jones
Oh,
and Hayden Christensen.
yeah,
That was both of them saying no.
Oh yeah.
yeah. I think that's supposed to be the thing. It gets
Yeah.
added. I think they re-added that in the Blu-rays too.
So they like got rid of the Hayden.
Jeez.
Anyway, so we
Do you
all
agree,
stand
Greg?
on that. It's good. 3's above 2, or Greg, do you really have a feeling about 2 above 3? I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard. I'd say they're the same.
Yeah. So
All right, so it
then
ends
you're
up-
not putting up a big stink then.
No, I guess not. I'm terrible. I think they're all good.
I understand that we all love these movies,
Well,
because it's
no,
Star
okay,
Wars.
well,
I feel like you think
Yeah.
you're getting picked on, but
no.
we're just picking on these.
I guess it's better than number 2.
We're ranking these movies. It's
Like-
not that I
Yeah,
despise
no,
them.
No,
you know?
you're
So
right.
it's-
It's better than number 2.
all right, so that's where we stand on that one, and we'll get right into it now. This one I think might have some debate. The recently released episode 7. I don't know if it has debate on where it stands on this list, but we gotta find out. For description, we all saw this opening night together.
No, I didn't.
You didn't? No, you can't.
No, I didn't.
You couldn't come to that one?
No, I didn't. I saw it shortly after.
Oh, you're right. I saw it with you.
Yeah, I think
Later.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I forgot because we bought tickets for everybody, and then
I guess gave yours to Whipper or something.
no, Whitbread didn't come either.
No,
So.
I know. He said he. Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway,
I'm sure when he listens to this, he'll fucking feel bad.
I've
So-
watched this movie a shitload since you bought it.
Oh yeah.
yeah, we all have it on Blu-ray now and watched it a few times. I saw it 3 times in theaters,
Yeah, I saw it twice.
I think I saw it 3 times.
and it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was a really good
As far
movie.
as bringing it back, I think they did a great job.
Nothing
obviously-
about it looked cheesy to me.
No, it was.
Some of the dialogue and all that was cheesy, but the way it looked was great.
Yeah, it brought it back, a good meld of CGI when it had to be CGI, but real when it
Yeah,
was,
a lot of great looking costumes and props, and the scenery was great.
So J.J. Abrams directed, obviously, also a writer on it, but they brought back Lawrence Kasdan, which was a writer for 5 and 6.
Okay.
So it was nice to bring back like a guy who, understood the lineage of like and where those, he didn't take any part in 1, 2, and 3, as far as I understand it. At least certainly wasn't like a head writer on it. And without letting George Lucas touch this, which I'm sure he was bitter about because he'd sold it and everything. But it was nice to have that someone that was there from the beginning there, I felt it in the movie. Like
Well, besides like the cast.
Yeah, obviously, but I mean, like as a someone behind the camera, I feel like he probably brought a lot to it. And from the special features I've watched on the Blu-ray, I think he did. Like he brought back that feel. He was there to
No, I agree.
understand where Star Wars sat at this time. And I liked every new character in this,
Yeah,
and including
for sure.
probably my favorite in this, someone with no goddamn lines, BB-8. Hard to love someone more than R2. And
Yeah.
I loved that fucking droid.
I love Ray.
I love Ray
we
too.
all love Ray.
Yeah, I'd propose to her in a heartbeat.
Like, I'm gonna admit, once in a while, I keep thinking like it's like, oh man, but I think about it just how hot it must be there and how often, or how unoften she gets to shave. But
Oh, that's,
I
man.
did think you're
Filthy.
going there.
yeah, so I mean, like, but other than that, I mean, clean her up a little. Fuck yeah.
Plot wise, it was basic as fuck. But
yeah,
you
it's
know what?
essentially just A New Hope. Again.
Yeah, keep it simple. Just throw in some new characters.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Poe Dameron, awesome
Nailed it.
character.
Apparently,
Ray-
doesn't have a fake nose.
Apparently, yeah.
So, are you guys? Yeah, you guys seem to be on board. Like, I feel like there were a lot of people out there who were expecting to see older versions of our previous heroes in a new adventure. But as far as Star Wars is concerned, I'm all about new characters.
I'm for me, it's not necessarily the new character thing. It's a young person on the brink of destiny, and this nails
A
it.
new chosen one.
Which,
Exactly.
So, you know what? It's,
Which means what? Was Luke just bullshit then?
no,
No.
Was Anakin bullshit before him?
No. Well, like, it kind of is like
No,
It's like the Hyrule.
I feel if we're all waiting for one goal, which is balance in the universe, and you're the chosen one, well, I mean, I'm not going to live forever.
it's a fluctuating balance.
Yeah, it's a fluctuating thing. It's like you're the chosen one. I'm not saying it's a fluctuating balance. I think that there is, but people don't quite know what the chosen one's supposed to do, and so we know that you're the chosen one, and that just means you're going to give birth to someone, and maybe you give birth to someone that no one cares about. And
I
so-
don't know if it even means you're supposed to give birth to someone.
No,
because
but
in
I'm
this
just
one,
saying.
it's not. Really
I'm just
good.
saying. We think you're the chosen one, and you're awesome, but you don't fulfill the prophecy. You don't bring balance. So people are expecting your kid to do awesome things. He doesn't. I'm just saying that in this scenario, right? So now people forget about you, and you lose track of the chosen one, and then later on, 100 years from now, you find the chosen one again. And it's like this guy's the chosen one, and I think people just are expecting the chosen one to do these things, and you don't know who it's going to be, but you know that. You find out then that this guy is related to this guy. You know what I mean? It's not Darth Vader. It's not Anakin. It's not Luke. Fuck. If Rey is, though it should be at this point because we can't just keep making new trilogies. I guess we can, but we need to fucking bring balance at least once before we bring unbalance again. So assuming Rey is Luke's daughter,
I don't think that's the case,
but in
I'm
order
not on
for
board for
Luke, it has just if Rey is going to bring balance, if it's not Rey, it has to be Luke's kid or Luke, because unless Luke is going to be her master and that was it. How is Luke the chosen one? How does Luke bring balance to the Force?
I think we're all taking too much weight on it. What if we're just taking the Jedi scroll for real? Like in that universe or in our own fucking universe, we don't go as like, oh, Jesus brought the balance to everything and everything was perfect after him. It's a fucking rolling goddamn system. Like I mean, shit changes, motherfucker.
know. I like to argue what the metaphor or what the prophecy means.
I hear you.
About bringing balance
But
to the
I
Force.
don't
It's
know.
just
The balance to the
very,
Force thing.
very just open.
Yeah, and I don't know if there is a balance to the Force.
It
I
just
think
as pure as good versus evil.
See,
man.
no, I mean, yes, right. I mean, a lot of people think that the bringing balance to the Force is then the Jedi defeat the Sith, and I mean that's not a balance.
what is it? Maz Kanata? What's the girl with the glasses in the new one?
Yeah, she's cool.
Awesome character in that. But also, what does she say? Like, the dark side takes many forms. Like the Emperor, the First Order, and Empire, First Order, all that kind of stuff. The Sith. It's the same on the good side. There's always the balance of the Force is just what opposing force is that.
Yeah.
It's just that there is someone out there that's going to bring it back. Balance is always tipping on either side. It's not that one day one person will fix everything. It's just that it's always swaying and there's always weight to both sides.
But that it has to relate to the Force somehow.
Well, it does, I think, in the sense that there is always a Sith, there's always a Jedi. they go by different names, but there's
and I
always
feel
a
like
hero and always a villain.
I'm hoping for this middle path. You know, like that the balance isn't going to be. If there's just the Sith, that's not a balance. If there's just the Jedi, there's not a balance. There has to be a third option.
Yeah, but as a story, that doesn't really work. Like,
no,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
also, what the good guys just become like passive and just like.
No, but it's just like a Dragon Ball Z thing where the Jedi's have a next level. Right now, we think the Jedi are unstoppable.
So what? They're all,
think
everyone's
that
like
in
not
that-
good anymore. They're
I
just
think-
all like
I think
neutral.
the plot
No,
you're
they
looking
can still be
for
good,
it's
but
already
it's just-
happened.
It's just they're more like Luke and fucking Qui-Gon and not like Obi-Wan or what Anakin failed. You know what I mean? Anakin failed to follow the light side. He became dark, but that proves right there that neither the light nor the dark worked.
I know. See,
And Anakin or Luke is the product of that. Luke is the product of the light side failing and the dark side failing.
yeah, okay. No, see, here's where I think like so. In first time we hear about the prophecy, bring balance to the Force, kind of thing. Episode 1, right? Like, it's like, oh, we think Anakin is the one prophesized that will probably always bring balance to the Force. That's the fuck up for the Jedis. They think that it's like one person will save everyone or something. That one person comes around and brings the opposite, right? Like now there's a huge deficit to one side. He turns to not their side. There's a struggle. Luke eventually does bring balance to the Force, where there's an opposing side eventually, one strong enough to take down the Empire. And then now in this situation, we're seeing the First Order is in the middle of switching those roles. They have their kind of what thought to be prophesied chosen one, and it's tipping the scale again in the other way. It's always moving, and they're always making mistakes.
Well,
and
because you don't want to listen to or read or watch a story where everything's neutral.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
suggesting that the dark side is going to cease to exist when there's a balance brought to the Force. I'm just thinking that the ultimate goal of these is to maybe Luke is going to bring about a new way of thinking for the Jedi. And the Jedi are going to be able to follow this middle path where, for example, Luke can fucking use Force lightning and it not be considered a bad thing. Luke
or
get
Luke
married.
could fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Luke can get married and have kids and it not be a bad thing. Which, in that scenario, would suggest that attachment and emotions have to be controlled and in check. You know, where
Yeah,
there's
I
a
hear
lot
you,
of
yeah.
power that can come from all of a sudden I'm angry that you're about to kill my family, but I love my family. Maybe I'm going to be stronger than a Jedi and a Sith in that scenario.
Yeah, I hear you.
Do you know what I mean?
I
Like,
agree.
the-
I understand where you're coming
This
from.
is
Luke
going to be the
bringing, like, a
balance
different
to the
balance.
Force. There's still going to be old school fucking relics that are like, I'm old school Jedi. You know what I mean? And they're not going to make it, and the Sith are going to happen. And in that scenario, coming back around to fucking episode 7, is there has to be a lineage, because otherwise, how is Luke or Anakin, either one of them?
I think they do a great job of lineage in this, though. Like,
So-
I don't think it has to be like you're talking about Rey being the daughter of Luke. I don't think that has to be the actual lineage.
I think Kylo being the son of Leia is a way more important deal.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really think Rey needs to be also the son of somebody else, like of another main character, right? Like she can just be anybody.
All right, well then
The
maybe,
Jedi Order was always born from just nothing, like just a random person, right? The only time, like literally, Anakin is born from nothing, like so that lineage having to stretch further than his son doesn't necessarily make sense or need to be a thing. But this-
So has anyone actually okay, maybe I'm overlooking this. Has anyone said that Luke is the chosen one, or has it always just been Anakin's the chosen one?
I think they only ever say Anakin's the chosen one.
All right.
We assume Luke is after that movie.
If that is
prequel.
the case, then no, but then you got to keep following, right? Because then that would be even greater.
but
Anakin
but
is
why
the
do we
one
have
that-
to be blood related here?
No, because Anakin is the one that's supposed to bring balance to the Force, and Anakin has 2 kids. Leia and Han have 1 kid that is Kylo Ren, the dark side. Luke.
Again, I just
assumedly
think
has
you're
a kid.
overthinking the bloodline part of it. I don't think that was ever what the Jedi were about.
I just don't want to be lied to
But what?
When were you lied to about it though?
that Anakin was going to bring balance to the Force.
But
he
they
fucked up.
literally is like a lie.
That is-
you
can't
know that
fuck
he's
that
not.
up, and it's not a lie. That is the premise of these entire movies.
No, it's not. That's literally a line they add in episode 1. It's literally the only premise to 3 movies
Then why
where
have-
you later know, because you've seen the later movies, that he's not the goddamn chosen one. That he does fuck everything up.
So you're thinking that Star Wars is the 7, 8, and 9. When 9 ends, Anakin is not going to somehow have brought balance to the Force.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that's probably the case because you're basing this on something that was said.
Why
as
why couldn't Kylo Ren still like do something amazing by the end of these movies and bring balance to the Force? And Anakin is still his grandfather.
What do you
I'm
even-
asking? That would be fine with me.
Yeah, no, I think Kylo Ren balancing with this neutral ground you're talking about is going to be like what this series. I think Kylo's way more important than Rey.
Like then what you're saying, like then you're right, and I just bet on the wrong horse. But if basically you just said everything that I was trying, like
Yeah, I think they're just like Rey's kind of like just they're waving her in our face, but like
there has to
because like Kylo talks about how he's battling with the good all the
and
time.
the bad. Yeah, I get that.
He's like, I want
I
the
really
darkness.
feel though like
almost,
kind of
that's
offhand.
the opposite, where he's being almost tempted with the light side.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like he sees his father and like I don't know, he knows he can be good.
I get that. I get that he's struggling with the balance there.
Watching
That's cool. But I really feel like both of you, or especially Greg,
I
too
agree.
focused
No,
on.
I
Greg
agree.
said
I
was
agree with
balancing-
everything Greg's saying. I just it's the fine points.
The
that-
balance to the fourth thing, I really don't feel is the plot of this movie or any of these
It
movies.
has to be though, man. As a writer, you can't. Otherwise, then the first three movies are for nothing, and the whole it's just no, you can't. It would be for nothing, because then why even bother telling us Anakin's story?
You
know?
literally had 6 movies that you already love quite dearly. That at no point at any of them did you feel like they brought balance to the Force.
Well, yeah, because they toppled the Empire multiple times.
So
that is them
then
basically
why all of a
leveling
sudden
the
in the next
scales.
one do you really feel like it has to end?
Because
in some sort
the
of grand
fucking
scheme?
the Empire's back. So they have to
Exactly,
balance
never
it
ends.
again.
It's always being
Well, that's what I'm
rebalanced.
saying. Like I think
So it wasn't a
I-
balance then.
No, then it is a balance.
Well, we were understood though that
it's
from
been
the,
balanced multiple times.
No, but
Yeah.
from the end of episode 6 to the beginning of episode 7, there was no point where people happy and peaceful. That was just a shit show.
At
from
no
shit show to
point
shit
ever
show.
in ever anything is there people happy and peaceful.
yeah, but
Episode
there's
1.
moments when they're happier, and that's
No,
a
they're
more
not
balanced
happy and
universe.
peaceful in episode 1. You're learning about how there's still problems, even
Just
in when
Naboo
it's
apparently
peace.
getting fucked over.
No, I'm sure that there's. If you go into that Senate, there's people bitching about shit. That's how democracy is. I don't understand why there has to be some happy-go-lucky, awesome ending to any of this. I really don't think that's what it's about. And
Man, I disagree completely. This isn't one of those fucking.
But these movies
Dark
didn't
ending
need to
movie.
happen. So it's not like this is something they've been working towards since day one.
again, yeah,
We're following history as far as these movies are being released.
Yeah, but they're making up history as they go.
That's
It's not a
fine.
history that was George Lucas
But that's
wrote when he
fine,
did
but
episode
they're not
4.
making up a history for it to end. There has to be a happy ending of this, and that's going to be, I'm all about the fucking hero dying at the end, and the heroes can die, but there has to be a happy ending. There has to be a balance brought. That is the point of these movies. There's no other plot.
Like all the trilogies.
I really think there's plenty of other plot. It's just this one thing you're focused on, and I don't understand why that has to be the sum up
Everything
to it.
else that's happening is a representation of the struggle of trying to bring balance to the Force, and the end of the movies are going to be a balance. A conclusion will be the balance. These movies don't end until there's a balance.
I just disagree. I think these movies just end one day when they stop making as much money as everyone thinks they're gonna, and then that's the end. I don't really think the balance is. That was never what I wanted to see out of these movies.
No,
It's
but
never been
there's
the
so
thing.
many stories. Okay, so like
Yeah, but why can't you just see the good guys winning at the end, being a balance brought to the Force, which has happened
Yeah.
multiple times?
Yeah,
they're
exactly,
doing?
yeah,
They're
that's-
showing us. They announced they're gonna make this Han Solo movie. They're making the Rogue One movie. These movies, well, Rogue One is helping complement the fucking adventure to find out about the balance of the Force. Same with this other one. But these are standalone, which is just, there's lots to tell about the Star Wars universe. These, if they're calling them the trilogies, so we got 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9, those stories have to be about bringing balance on the Force.
Yeah, why are you worrying about it happening though when it's already happened multiple times? Of course, it's going to happen at the end of this trilogy.
When those 9 movies end, they can keep making Star Wars movies with new characters in new timelines, not about this bloodline and they're bringing balance.
well, they're
to the
going
Force.
to. They've
Yeah,
announced they're
I
doing
really
tons
don't.
of
I
movies.
just don't think
No,
that
and
the
that's fine.
bloodline's been what I've been watching it for.
That might not be what you're watching it for, but I'm thinking that is what it's about.
Okay, that's fair. Let's get into whether or not what do you actually like about this movie? Not the future of the franchise or what the basis of it. What parts do you enjoy or not enjoy?
Kylo Ren is my favorite character in the Star Wars universe.
Ever.
I like his character design. I like the sound design, probably the best. His voice is like what they should have done with Bane. And
Yeah, I can hear
I just like his confused, ugly character underneath the mask.
Yeah.
The way
His struggle
the way he
scenes.
fights with his sword, he's really
They do a
brutal
better
with it.
job in his struggle. What I would have liked to have seen at Anakin.
Exactly, man. I feel like they're getting redemption.
like that moment
That's
with
exactly
him and Han Solo is a fantastic moment.
where it's gonna be the reverse almost. Instead of like Anakin turning evil, it'll be Kylo turning good.
Yeah, or just that moment of, I know what I need to do, and when you're watching it, like you feel like it's him becoming good, and you don't, you hope that, but it doesn't.
The new cantina scene was amazing.
I like that.
I
It
love
was
the
a
new
good
song.
homage to the original one. Yeah.
No,
There's a bunch of great nods to the original, like to Episode 4. That is both its highlight and its downfall. I don't like the destroy the bigger Death Star and the whole like
That
throw
was
up the plans
stupid,
to like, well, it's like blowing up the Death Star. We already did that before, twice,
but it's bigger.
but this one's bigger. And it still boils down to the same point. It has a weakness, and we do it. That's fine. Like in the grand scheme, it doesn't upset me that much. But I mean, that is a knock against it.
Mm-hmm.
What about Finn? You like Finn?
He was okay, but one of the biggest problems I have with the movie is they try to make it too funny. There's just I like the jokes, but there were too many of them too often. And Finn was a big problem with that.
I get that. But I feel like these jokes, I've never been in a theater where people laughed that much at a movie that wasn't a comedy. It seemed like they landed.
Yeah, they did, but I would just enjoy it being a little more serious.
I get that. I feel like these weren't forced jokes. Like it wasn't Jar Jar, where you have a character based entirely on someone thinking it's funny, but it's not funny. So I don't hate it as much, Like Finn has serious moments. Like it is the whole like force. Oh, that's not how it works. Scene like maybe a little bit thrown in there, but I don't know. I still liked it at the time. I thought it was funny, so I'm not really gonna knock it for the funny part.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have any serious issues at all.
Because I won't let this movie be number one, I'm putting this movie at number 2.
I was going to put it at number 2 as well.
I was going to say I wouldn't put this movie at number 1. I wouldn't have put this movie at number 2 if number 5 had been number 2. I would rate it below Empire. Not that it's like, we talked about nostalgia. I feel like it would, nostalgia-wise, those movies are above,
Yeah.
But you guys put 6. I normally would have put it below 6. But it seems weird to me to put the newest Star Wars movie.
I almost want to put it at number 1, but I think I
definitely don't want to do number 1.
I can't put it because it's essentially a remake of.
But I've watched this so many times since it's come out that like I probably have to throw it up there.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a fantastic movie in my opinion, and not only is it great, but it's hard to be a great movie with the expectations of this movie. We watched 3 other Star Wars films fall flat.
Yeah, this could have flopped.
Fall flat in the grand scheme. You understand that for the world they fell flat, right, Greg?
I was at no point anything but excited for this movie, and I was never scared or worried. I went in just smiling. At one point, I think all I did in that movie was smile and maybe a little.
Oh yeah, I did the same.
And then it was just back to smiling. That was it. My mouth hurt when I left the theater.
No, I had a great time.
I would have given them all my money. I went and saw it 3 times.
The two of us gave them a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, like
in the grand scheme. I've never given a film that much money.
I will give Star Wars and I guess Disney now money for as long as I can.
Yeah, they did manage to reboot a franchise that I thought was dead. Not just dead, but like on the side of the road, rotting dog. I had made peace with I was going to just get 6 movies for the rest of my life, and I was going to just keep watching them. Yeah, it wasn't going to give you anything good.
So
I don't know.
we agreed on number 2. How do you feel about that, Kyle?
I will accept this movie at number 2.
All
which
right.
I'll say though, as if this closing piece, it feels weird to give a new Star Wars movie, the newest Star Wars movie, a number 2.
We're kind of posers.
Well, I don't know. No, I feel like we're honest, is what we are. People give these movies ratings like that are seemingly the easy one. The general population's love of them, like, oh, it's got to be 5, 4, 6. The prequels are all shit. There's nothing to love. Number 1's the worst goddamn piece of shit I've ever seen, and 7's, it's all right. I mean, JJ's kind of done the same thing.
From the first to the last, number 1 and 2. I think that's
all right. Read us the list now, Kyle.
All right. You want to top to bottom?
Yeah, sure.
All right. The GOAT.
No, I guess
The other
bottom
one?
to top.
Yeah.
Just end it with the greatest of
So
all
the
time.
worst Star Wars movie of all time, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
I still love that
Expect
movie.
though.
I can understand it. You still love it. It's just, it's
No,
Star
no.
Wars. You love Star
I
Wars.
just want to be on record.
The next one, Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3.
I also love this movie.
Then Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Highly disputed. I would say the whole list, that was the one I feel like, placement-wise, there was the most argument about.
Yeah,
Darth
'cause
Maul is awesome.
I
It's
thought
good.
it was gonna be higher than that.
Darth
but
Maul's a fantastically awesome character. I was going negative on that one to push it down, but I will say.
I know
awesome
everyone's
character.
just like, oh man, what spoilers? Yeah, Darth Maul is still alive. For anybody who didn't know, he's still alive.
That's the
Spoilers.
third podcast
All
now.
right,
You've announced
next.
that.
Yeah, but not everyone is listening to all of them.
Honestly, this is the one that's the true surprise in the whole list. Empire Strikes Back gets number 4 on this list.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
a-
Widely considered the great one, like the Star Wars movie, gets 4 on this list.
Gives
It's
me
kinda
anxiety.
crazy. I know it gives
that's what
you
happens when
anxiety
you
and
roll with this crew, man.
I feel like either 2 years ago or 2 years from now, this could be number 1 on the list. You
What's
know,
that?
like Episode 5, like it could just fluctuate in our enjoyment of that movie. you know?
Yeah, you're
It
right.
could change. So then Episode 3, Return of the Jedi. Or sorry, number 3, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
Baller Luke.
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I would have pushed it down, but I mean, you guys love it, and I understand why you love it. Ewoks, I mean, love them or hate them.
Green lightsabers.
Green
Yeah,
lightsabers.
green. Hashtag green lightsaber.
Number 2, Episode 7.
Yeah, man, it's a fucking good movie. I'm probably gonna watch it right after we're done.
I was thinking that too. Make up some pasta.
I'm gonna probably watch it this weekend.
Might
Yeah,
eat some pizza.
I've seen it quite a bit, but it's still, I mean, surprisingly number 2 on this fucking list. That's pretty good. J.J. Abrams.
I
pats
was
himself in the
fucking
back.
more than impressed. I liked it way more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, and number 1, the GOAT,
Well-
the greatest of all time, Star Wars movie, the original.
Fucking right.
Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
It makes
OG.
sense.
OG for life.
Yeah.
Fan-fucking-tastic film, beginning to end, undisputed king.
Well, at least we can all agree on the GOAT, right?
I think, yeah. I mean, yeah, there was literally no dispute. We started
Yeah, we
off
started
with this,
right
and
off
there
the
was no
bat.
one going to fight for it for number 1. There's like a little bit of love for every other one on the list, but we all have a heart filled with love for this fucking movie. It is like the movie that got me into movies. Probably the same for you guys. So
Guys, speculations as to where you think like Rogue Squadron is gonna fall, or Rogue One's
yeah,
gonna
I'll give
fall.
a quick judgment. Trailer
No,
looked good.
I thought
I
the trailer
don't
was great.
think like it's interesting to
It's
see
gonna have a
it
mediocre
you know, like,
story.
Who knows?
It'll seem like
I
Star
would
Wars
see
filler.
it
You don't think
sitting
they-
Maybe a
in the middle
comic
of this
book, I
list.
think.
And maybe we'll revisit this for a quick
What did
session
you
in
say?
another podcast. I'd see it sitting in the middle of this list. That's where my expectation goes. But yeah, so look for our eventual revised lists, I guess, when we do it on the probably as a segment in our normal podcast, 2 versus 3.
It'll be funny if we go to do this again without consulting the list when we have like an
Oh, yeah, just-
eighth to see. Yeah, like but don't look at this list.
Yeah, just see what it
see
is.
what we rank it and see where it compares.
Yeah, it will be interesting. One day it is going to come, and I guess we'll have to look back at the list. Probably wait until the next, like, episode 8 comes out or whatever. But anyway, I guess this has been 2 versus 3 presents the GOAT, Star Wars, and
Yeah, try to check out our episode that we also did for the Batman movies. We ranked
yeah,
all of
that was the
those.
previous GOAT, and our regular podcast, just 2 versus 3. You can check us out on facebook.com/users/2 versus 3. According to our revised, our last link is fucked. Also check us out on Twitter @2 versus 3 or at bmoviesandebooks.com, as well as our other fantastic podcasts like B&E Pod, Long Box Small Talk, and Toxicity, and Scary as Shit.
I thought you were gonna do like a jingle.
Like
We
saying
have a
something.
jingle?
Yeah, well, you almost like you were just like
B&E
Yeah,
pod.
you like- you
Check out
started
B&E
to.
Books, they're fantastic. So that's we'll come up with a better jingle. But yeah, check us out at those fantastic places. And I've been Kyle.
I'm Greg.
I'm Cody.
Have a great night.
Thank you. The podcast you just heard is part of the B&E Network, brought to you by bmoviesandebooks.com.